Hello, nice to meet you.
Catalina, nice to meet you.
Janice.
Hi, Janice.
Catalina. So I'm from the Geeky area, and we're an online website that deals mostly in fandom stuff, but we also deal specifically with LGBT issues, women's issues, and diversity issues. And what I love about the show is it's all of the above.
All of that.
Exactly. So when it's such a unique concept, and when you kind of get the script for something like this, is there that thing of, is this gonna work? Like, I like this, but is this gonna work? Or were you like super excited? Kind of what was your reaction to the script originally?
It was kind of both.
Mm-hmm.
You know, seeing that kind of work, seeing that kind of opportunity is empowering. It's amazing, and it makes you feel like you could really be part of something. Is it gonna work? Maybe not, but the content makes you want to try.
Right.
Whether it works or not, whether we get 9 seasons or not, we got that out there. Somebody saw it, and somebody is going to be changed because of it, and create something else diverse, inclusive, and just very friendly for all. So it was an opportunity that couldn't be passed on.
Yeah, and I also believe that it's always about the process and not the outcome. And when you have an opportunity that land on the table in front of you, and when I first read it, I should say, the world that Elliot had put on paper came alive like no other script I've written. I saw everything in front of me unfold like these children books that have the castles that pop up, you know?
Yeah.
It was like that. And at the same time, it terrified me because at first I told myself, I can never do that. But I caught myself, and I always think that whenever you're in a position when you tell yourself that you can't do it, that's exactly the thing that you got to go and tackle. So I don't think I've ever worked that hard for an audition. First of all, I've got the challenge with the language to take on an American accent and all of that, but the work that I put into the audition for me was everything, and then I let her go. But when I heard I got it, I was like, wait, what? The general? The general? The general? And that world came back to me, and I even got more terrified. But I knew that meant that I was facing an incredible exercise. And the most beautiful thing about it is, you know, for example, this person sitting next to me, because it's all about the people you meet along the way. And Demetria and I have become very good friends, and I know that I have a sister, and that is the beauty about what we do at the end of the day, you know?
You know, and this gave us an opportunity to reawaken imagination. I think sometimes we get in the mold of the day, we get stuck in reality. I think we watch so many bad issues, and I think we kind of feel like we can't have that Peter Pan syndrome where we feel like we don't ever want to grow up because you didn't know there was a such thing as gay or straight. You didn't know color. You didn't understand that there were quote-unquote roles for men and women. So you get that inner childhood reawakens, you get those juices flowing again, and then you realize, oh, okay, these things can be my reality if I allow them.
Yeah.
And once you start to dream and you spread the dream, it becomes the reality.
I'm curious to know, for both of you, coming before the show, what were your ideas on magic and witchcraft and like growing up with it? And then how did it evolve or change after getting the show?
You know, I think
Who said y'all was blessed oils?
oh, y'all just made my wig want to slide. Growing up, and even now, I've always been big on energy. Like, we possess our own magic every single day. We just call it something else. Okay? So when you guys came over, y'all's magic was incredible. Huh? What is that? And then I think that it's absolutely impossible to think that we're the only creatures in this universe. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just so much out there we don't know. We haven't explored the rest of our oceans yet. How dare we? But when you get into this, for me, I felt less like a kook. I was like, you know, when I'm sitting here like, yeah, the man on the moon told me da-da-da-da-da. People looking at me like, girl, stop huffing, whatever. It just makes you feel like you can have those possibilities in front of you. You know, like she said, I was like, can I do this? Yes, I can. And the magic with this show is so based in reality that those things really feel like, for example, y'all saw in the screener where the balloon pops and people lose it. I ain't never looked at a balloon the same way. And that's when you really perform magic.
Yeah.
You know, we were by the pool here, and there's some other stuff that kind of happens. But we were by the pool here, and we were like, yo, we ain't getting in there for a while. but that's the kind of magic you create. It doesn't necessarily have to be all the bells and whistles. We don't have to David Copperfield you. We're going to sit this right in front of you in your house, in your room, with the stuff that you have right here, right now, and that magic is going to sit, settle, and stay with you. That's what it was like. Okay, yeah.
Party on. Yeah, that and you know, for me, like, my friends call me a witch. I do my full moon burning.
This is hot.
This is hot. No, but you know, I do my, whenever there's a full moon, I always write down what I'm grateful for, and I write down what I want to release, and then burn that. I have nearly set my apartment on fire 3 times by doing so, but I'm very much in energies and connecting on a deeper level. And I think witch, you know, is a word and with almost of a negative connotation. Right? That came from the medieval times. But if we look at our modern times, I think witches, our modern witches, are more of our mediums, you know, the people that are connected deeply on a level of energy. So, you know, even though I'm a witch, still the general faced me with a lot of other difficulties. For example, the world that Elliot created required green screen, and I had never worked with green screen in my life before. And that was some, you know, I come from drama. I did a lot of theater, did a lot of drama pieces, and the beauty about this project was that we were allowed almost to be children again and ignite an imagination that we almost had suppressed, that I was able to bring back to the surface and let that be magic. And you know, you're standing at a green screen, you have to envision that there's this army of, am I spoilers now?
Well, no,
We get there's an army.
You know, but you know, okay, whatever. But there's this green screen. You have to play that these medals appear in front of you, and you know, it's a that's something that I haven't done before. And you know, when I was a child, I used to put on a wedding dress because my mom's mom had a wedding dress shop. I would roll it up because I was so little. I remember just rolling up all the material on my little bike, go and play in the woods for hours, and everything that I imagined
was real.
was real. And I thought back to that moment because I said, Lynn, that's exactly what you need to do. You need to bring that little girl back into Alder, and everything that is not there is real because I have to imagine. And that was the most beautiful thing, you know, to be able to do that and
Well,
take that freedom again.
It's so interesting that you say that because it is kind of juxtaposed with the character who's very kind of staunch and very like, but has that bit of an edge when she's having the conversation with Abby. And Abby's saying, I want to be reassigned, send me somewhere else. And she was like, oh, you know, we had, I can't remember the
I had a sugar.
Yeah,
I had a sugar.
Stephen, you know, very kind of like Castle Rock. But it made me laugh because it was just like, but she ended up being the best soldier and she saved my life more than 3 times. So go back and get it together. Like, I'm pretending we didn't have this conversation.
Yeah.
When you're kind of having that fun, do you approach it from a very serious perspective, or do you try to add a little bit of levity to it when framing your character? What do you put into it?
Well, I have a thorough preparation, and my preparation for Alder started with getting the accent right, and then
Which you're doing great at.
thank you. It was a tough one for years and years, and then, you know, putting that suit on. But I always leave myself that gap of opportunity to find new things on the day. You know, to surprise myself, to find Alder as I grow into her. Because you can do a preparation, but that is maybe the 10th of what happens on the day. You know, Ben Mendelsohn, this amazing Australian actor, said it so beautifully. You go to set and you're prepared, and you have in your head how you want to do it, but on the day you never know what's going to happen. You never know what the room will be like, which props are in front of you, how another actor comes at you with an intensity that you're not prepared for, and therefore we have to be able to drop everything in a split second, what we have prepared, and then take it from that moment and stay in that present moment and create. And that, if you can hit that on a set, that's where the beauty is. That's where the magic happens. It lives. It every day. Having conversations with Elliot, I kept on asking him, with her vulnerability, what made her. You can't just have the facade of Alder just be that. For someone to be so, there's so much loss, and what's the pain? I kept on asking him, what's the pain? And therefore we started constructing, and that's the beauty about what we do.
Will we find out that answer in season 1? Like you're saying, what's the pain? You spoke to Elliot. Will we find that in the first season?
You will.
And will we find out your vulnerability too with your character? Because so far in the screeners, you've pretty much straight and narrowed.
But I love her because she gets these looks.
Yeah. You're like an officer and gentleman.
Those looks kill me because I know every single one. Like,
So, Anacostia is a bit of a prism, okay? There are a lot of different colors to her, but she only gives the colors to certain people. Really, at this point, the only true vulnerability that anybody is going to be able to see of Anacostia is Alder. This is my mom. This is my mentor. This is my teacher. This is my confidant. This is my stability. And because of what I have with her, I'm able to give everything else and give a damn about everything else from anybody else. I think that one of the most beautiful things that people will see happen with Anacostia is her realizing her own strength even without all of the things that she may have thought or may have known. And as things change, develop, she grows. And even the way that she treats people is different. And it's interesting what you said about the process of preparing for these characters, but what I think people miss is that these characters are real people. You woke up with the intention of wearing one thing and it went to something else. On the show, Anacostia has natural hair. I had every intention of having her hair one way, and her hair said no. Life changes your intention every step of the way. I did a post on my social media at Demetria, the number 4 real on Instagram. But I did a post and I just reflected on everything, and I shared this with Lynn. Everything that I had been through, from molestation to being a single mother to being homeless to rising to falling to losing everything, getting it back, realizing it wasn't as important. But I realized in all of that, every clock has to hit every hour on it to make a complete day. You have to go through all of these different things, all of these different emotions to make you.
That's beautiful.
So as Anacostia is developing, and as I was getting a chance to take the journey with her, I was finding so much more about myself. Those things that hadn't been awesome for me. I developed this character from my mom. We ain't cool.
But we know that too.
But now, because I've walked in those shoes, I have a better understanding of why she was who she was. And then that situation of being a single mother, now I know how to be a mother hen to these girls. I understand discipline. I understand what that fragility has to look like, because while I'm disciplined, at any moment I could crack too. So she's been a lot of fun. She tested the hell out of me.
And Anacostia and Alder grew together.
Yeah.
I think what the beauty about television making is that as a writer's room are still writing, like when we're shooting episode 3, for example, 5 or 6 is being written. And the beauty about that is, like, when two actors like me and Demetria came together, however crazy that looks, however, like, you would never put us together.
That's facts.
And that's right.
No, it's real.
But then we were put together, and something sparked between not only two people but two actors finding their parts and this relationship. And because of what they saw happening between us, things were written accordingly, and that is incredible. You know what I mean?
Segues into what actually really struck me about the show, and I hope I'm not stepping on you too much, but as I'm a black woman that grew up in Nebraska, so my worldview was very Caucasian. And so, this show is very much directed towards Gen Z, millennials, which is not my generation. Like,
Ours either.
Yeah, I was one on the other side of that. So when I was watching, I was just like, we have a show that has 2 black women in it that don't seem to be related, and one has natural hair.
Right.
What?
Take a step back.
Okay.
It's such a big thing. But like you were saying, once you can present that and be like, this is me, this is who I am, and then you jump past that and be like, okay, but how do we relate in the ways that humans relate? And when you kind of see the relationship between you two in the way that, it is, you're like, oh, well, of course that makes sense, and then your show be like, oh, it's black woman, white lady, that's not going to.
I grew up in a rural little village in Belgium on the countryside, between farms that we milk cows and we bake bread in wooden ovens. I was never confronted with other races, with other cultures. And for me, having left Belgium after I graduated, it was possibly the best thing I could do, because sometimes, and I'm not patriotic. I look at Belgium and I know why I love has also widened my world in so many ways. I mean, we when we're not working together, we will call each other, and we call each other with hair and without hair, and with makeup and without
You see
makeup.
me in my do-rag
and
with my
crying
onesie on.
in your downs and ups, and that's what it's about. We are, at the end of the day, we all come from the same place, which is made of stardust.
Is it safe to say that this show, besides being the women empowerment, it's affected you so much personally than other jobs that you've had?
Oh yeah. Do you concur? Do you want? You go first or what?
Okay, so up until this job, I thought the hardest job I had was playing Whitney Houston. She saved my life. She never met me, but she saved my life. And realizing the influence she had on me, I realized the influence she had on other people, whether they knew her as Whitney or Nippy or Bobby's wife or Bobby's mama or Sissy's daughter or the voice. There were just so many different categories and boxes that she's sitting in that it became really, really hard for me to grasp. Coming into this, I have to say this is the hardest work I've ever done, not just because of the physicality or because I'm awakening this muscle of imagination that hadn't really been used in that capacity before, but also I had to shift my ideas, and this is going to sound real crazy, about women.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I had a stint on a show that shall not be named.
Wait,
We see the energy. We can see the energy.
Mandatory.
Hashtag shall not be named.
Okay.
Where the women were out to do nothing but one-up each other by tearing each other down in an effort to get ahead. I came into this situation where it's a world full of women and they all have power. Oh my God. What is this going to do? But when I realized that their power and their vulnerability was something that contributed to mine, that we thrived off of each other, and that world was actually possible, because once they yelled cut, we still did the same thing. I still like you. You're not coming for my neck or my man. Like, this is possible. And even in that, I'm realizing that the power that we are expressing, and even the gender roles and everything being reversed, it's making us all equal. Men too. This is a women-driven show, but we're giving life to other people, other entities, other mindsets. Sexuality, LGBTQ, straight, figuring it out, it's all good. But realizing that, like she said, we're all made of stardust. And once you let everything that makes you different go, the sky's the limit. And that's what made this the hardest thing for me. I had to let go of some of the things that had hurt me. Yeah, because you kind of go through your own stuff And you can get a little bit jaded. And I'm glad that this took me out of that. And I hope that it takes a lot of other people out of their stigmas too.
Well, I like that it does allow for women to have conflict, but not because of them being women.
And not without
Yeah.
resolution.
Exactly.
You know, sometimes you go, oh, I don't like her. Why? Because she breathing. Like, what is that? And even if you did something to me, let's talk about it.
Right.
Let's be adults about it. And after that, let's go have some sushi and some champagne. Like, what's good? Life is just too short, and there's way too much magic out there to do. And for two men, or for Elliot Lawrence, really, to come up with this show, understanding the power women possess, and wanting to put that on the table and make people have to really digest that.
Well, I was talking with Amy Littman about this too, because she kind of has a similar thing in that, you know, she is a white American making a show that's based on kind of a Hispanic, Mexican American experience.
Yeah.
And you have this man that is making a show based on a female experience.
Yeah.
And those kind of growing pains. Have you had situations, even just within the script, where you're like, you know, maybe not this, where you're able to kind of talk it out
Absolutely.
or that kind of thing?
They've all been very open. They've all been very willing to have a communication. They've been very collaborative. And they've even taken the opportunity to bring in female directors.
Yeah.
There are women in the writers' rooms. So there's always a feminine voice there. And he understood that. Like, he was really, really genius about the way he went about this. And he took his time. This isn't something that came up, you know, last summer. He said, yep, let's go. This has been 9+ years. in the making.
Right.
So it's gone through its drafts, it's gone through its changes, it's had eyes on it, it's had its yeses, its no's, and now, even still, it's building, growing, and becoming what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, but I don't imagine if he would have come out with this or presented it 9 years ago. I don't think the world
People
would
wouldn't
have
have
been
been
ready.
ready.
They
Yeah.
don't ready. We would have been ready, and you know, like
They're
you
like,
said,
who's the guy?
well,
Who's
yeah.
the love interest?
But you know, you come to a show like this, and it changes you. Every job changes you.
Yes.
Every job you grow in, every job you learn more about yourself, because when you're confronted with everyone else, that's when you learn about yourself. I think the beauty about our show is that we have been able to be with each other in our truth, and sometimes that isn't easy. Sometimes you do ask questions and you do have a disagreement, but to be able to talk about it, to be able to find the creative process of finding solutions,
To be able to admit you're wrong.
yeah,
Right. Yes.
you know, that is it's incredible, and I hope that the show can, you know, have that message more than anything else, because I certainly don't want it to come across as a feminist, you know,
Or rather that
power trip.
That it
And
doesn't
I don't
hurt
want to say
anybody
that, you know, I got to be
Because I
careful
think
with
it
what I
should
say.
be a feminist power trip, but without that stigma of
Right.
that
Yeah.
being a negative
Well,
thing. When it's like, no, it's a
No,
very,
this is the part
very
where
positive
we're
thing.
just showing, like, it doesn't have to be like that. It can be different. You know, we just we all grew up in a system that set so many rules. And I think what we're doing as humanity today and creative makers, we're devouring those rules. We're breaking them. We're not only breaking them, but we're diminishing them.
Right.
And I think that's important, but with the right reasoning, with the right motivation behind it. I mean, I, growing up in Belgium, would have never thought that I would sit here. I mean, look at this table. I'm the only Caucasian woman. And I'm honored.
You white!
I'm white. I'm white,
Jackie's
girl.
light skin.
I'm white, girl. I'm white, girl. Look, and I was privileged when I was young. I took a gap year. I worked in Namibia. I worked with the locals there, and early enough in my childhood, I was, you know, presented with other cultures for me to fully embrace them. But I'm sometimes shocked still today in the world that we're in, with the racism that is still going on, with the divide that is still being pushed, with leadership that is absolutely wrong. And after reading Noah Harari's book, Homo Sapiens, I was like, we're in these systems and we're trying to break out of them. And I think Elliot has made something in this industry that is proving that.
Yeah.
We're breaking out of a mold. We're breaking out of what is
We're
expected from us.
We're testing the status quo. in all aspects. And I think it had to happen with a network that was willing to take that kind of a chance.
Exactly.
You know,
But
a lot
that
of
is
people,
very popular
yeah,
too.
you know, and I mean with the mindset of millennials and the fact that they're experimenting more, they're in touch. Like my son was designing video games at 13.
Right.
I can't do algebra at 13. They're smarter. They're way more aware, and we're getting them at that level, and we're bringing them into the possibilities that are not the popular ones. But that's what they relate to. So I think that with what she's saying, especially, you know, like we were sitting back there watching the trailer and seeing all of this come to fruition, and I was like, everybody back here but me and Ashley is gonna be blushing in pink when we get on the stage because they're gonna be crying, their face gonna be all flushed, and you know, but it's just like to see somebody from Sweden, Belgium, Africa, Canada, like there's just, and we're coming from all these different walks of life, and we're making this story, and we all had to be plucked from our norms. We all had to be plucked from the things that we were used to, and we all had to depend on each other, which is very similar to the story.
So, to wrap it all up, and I asked this of Ashley and Jess too, your character, what kind of growth are we going to see kind of going throughout the season from where you are, this kind of very kind of archetype? How does that change up, and you know, how does that go throughout the season?
Well, I mean, for every good story, you need, you know, a certain arch that is going to change the person that you find in the beginning, and then obviously, you know, transcend to something that is different and opposite to that. With Alder, when we first meet her and see her, you know, you're intimidated by her. She exudes power. She exudes that wisdom and knowledge that she's carried for 327 years. But it wouldn't be a great story if that mold wouldn't get the cracks, if it couldn't have an opportunity to show vulnerability. Again, coming back to the pain, what makes someone hold themselves up like Alder does. And so there is an arch in the story of Alder then, that you will see the cracks and you will see that vulnerability come through, and the woman behind Alder. So I'm excited for the audience to see that. And the same goes for Anacostia.
I liken Anacostia to a female Wesley Snipes in Blade.
All right.
She's badass. She's unapologetic. She's very in control. She's very much about the game of chess, not checkers. She learned all of that from her. I think that the process that she goes through, where you see where she ends up at the end of the season, is once she realizes that she didn't know what she thought she knew. A lot of times, this is a twofold thing. A lot of times we get stuck in what we know, so that we can't learn anything else, so that we can't believe anything else. And that doesn't leave any room for growth or change. Growth always goes up. Change can go any direction.
Yeah.
And I think that Anacostia has to lean on herself a little bit more to start making some decisions that are right, not only for herself, but for what she intended it to be, which was the greater good of everybody else. Now, the other thing is, and I'll say this lastly about the show, people have a stigma, as you said, about witches. And I think that stigma can apply to witches, LGBTQ,
Yes.
black women, black men, white people, people who support this, people who support that. I think that the fear, and I think that the ability to just be so daft comes from not knowing. You don't take the time to know. You don't take the time to hear the perspective. You don't take, even the good book says to study to show yourself approved.
Right.
Don't just take my word. Look into it. Don't go just because you saw it or somebody told you. Do your own research. A witch doesn't have to be a bad thing. The black man doesn't have to rob you.
Right.
A lesbian doesn't have to look like this. These are the stigmas that we're breaking down within this thing, because he's actually taken the time, Elliot has taken the time to craft something that breaks all of that down like a fraction and starts it over. And hopefully this show will be a catalyst for change. Just in the look at the state of the country now.
Yeah.
Because we have somebody, and I say it, he ignorant, in office. So, with a platform like this, and with you guys being willing to promote it and take the time to talk with us about it, with Freeform putting this kind of content out, with word of mouth, we can really start a change, and that's, again, the magic. Hallelujah!
Yes.
It's making the difference by doing what you love.
Yes.
If we can do that, I mean, we won. Right?
What would you like to see season 2 do with your characters?
Anything could happen, right? Especially with Elliot steering this boat. There's so many different ways. I would like to see that Alder is forced in a position where she does not want to be, because that's always interesting.
Yeah.
But that could not happen. I mean, maybe they'll burn her at the stake.
Oh my God!
You know, I just hope that it can be, you know, something that has a surprising effect, that challenged me more as an actor, and that maybe crumbles a certain image and therefore has to morph into another one. Because that's life, that's what we do.
Right.
We morph from one, you know, state of being into another, and if we can, you know, get that to happen in the show, that would be a beautiful thing.
I am curious. We've talked about, you know, the mental growth that the show has really brought to you guys, the quote unquote spiritual growth, the emotional growth. What about the physical growth? Like, what did you learn by yourself doing these physical things?
That I turned 40 and I'm no longer 26, and after those 2 weeks in battle, I was finished. That's what I learned physically. I'm old. Oh my God.
But even pushing those boundaries,
It was fantastic.
pushing your body to do things.
And it is great, you know, because you're introduced to a new weapon. You're introduced to a training. You're introduced to challenges that you have very little time to master. And you do it because you're driven by adrenaline, because of the love for a project, because of your colleagues. You don't want to disappoint them. You want to honor them and rise up to that, you know?
Well, I ain't old.
I take that back. I'm not old. I'm driving.
We just seasoned. That's all.
But I'm still 26 in my head.
What I will say is, you find out the depth of your machine.
Yeah.
Our bodies are way more skilled than we give them credit for. And sometimes because you don't use it, or because you don't try it, or because you don't know it, things get rusty, things get stagnant. But this has truly awakened a machine within me. You know, it's been a personal growth in that it's made me want to try different things. You know, I went to bar, I'm doing this combat training, I'm doing my own stunts, I'm learning to fly. All right, let me go try this hot yoga. No,
Right.
you know, but it made me want to expand my horizons, and I did want to hit on what I think might be cool with Anacostia. Two things. I would like to know where she started.
Yeah.
What made Alder take such an interest in her? There are so many fosterlings, there are so many mothers, there are so many witch fathers. What made her say, that's the one that I'm going to trust with my all and my everything?
Right.
And in the show, as different scenarios are happening, I tried to make the natural hair match that. I want to see the power, like everything.
I love it. I love the styles. I was like,
yeah,
I was like, how do you do that?
But I want to see if that's part of her magic. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you've noticed, even without my hair, all the women have these braids in one shape or another. Like, what is that about? You know, the feminine qualities have been explored in the sexual, in the emotional, in the physical. You know, we see all of that stuff. But what is that other feminine thing that we tap into? Especially my character, because I didn't intend on it, but it just morphed into its own character too. It morphed into its own magic and its own entity.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see where she started and how she got to this.
Another layer that we can learn.
Yeah.
This is cheekbones. That's the secret. Because especially yours are on
Voila.
fleek. I was looking at the screen like these cheekbones.
I get that all the time. And as a child, I was like, I look like a man. I did not like that. But now,
But then
apparently the camera loves it, so I'm like,
So
okay.
good is
See, but she brings the gangster out of me, and I bring the pieces out of her.
she.
Gangster princess.
Again,
I
okay.
like it.
So let me tell y'all something. I thought I told everybody, but I just need to emphasize this. She is working. Alder ain't her. Some of the other girls are very, very
Like
like their
character.
characters. That ain't her.
No. I could not be more different than Alder. Literally. I'm like butterflies. Oh. Literally.
Oh, I would love a Bizarro episode. That's what I want to see in the future. Is older going like ladies.
Sometimes, like when we're out, I'm like, Lynn, I give her Walmart rules. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do that. We were in there and they were like, yeah, we have some Oreos. Do not let Lynn eat those. She's going to eat them. So she has the black stuff in her teeth to talk to you. Like, that's who she is. It's just so, it's been an honor and a privilege to not only meet such an amazing friend, but to work with such an amazing talent.
I was talking with one of the other shows about just their group, because you hear horror stories.
I know,
sometimes
right.
with different people, but when you're able to kind of find a group that you gel with and that you're able to kind of bounce off of each other, it really works. And I really enjoy the show, and I love the dynamics that everyone is kind of bringing to the table, and I'm interested to see what's next. So,
Thank you.
congrats, guys.
Thank you so much.
Very
It's such a great show.
Thank you.
I'm telling everybody, you need to watch it. You need to watch it.
You know, it's great that you like. For him to set up and be a man.
Exactly. He's got dreads. He does rap music. He 6'3", size 15 shoe. He ain't saying go, but he's like, that's what's up. You know what I'm saying? So it bridges all kinds of gaps.
The last scenes that we were shooting.
Okay.
Remember around the campfire? And it was a moment where we were rushing, and there's like, I think 80% more, 90% of our crew was male, right? And it was that moment at that one of the last shots, and it was a beautiful scene. And there was a guy, lying there with, of course, I don't know what you call that, these boards, the filter.
Oh, the
or they were holding.
reflector.
There's one of our crew, you're doing a scene, and he's like lying right there, and you pretend that he's not there. And I remember after a take, he went like, "This is a really good show."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Wow, that's interesting because this is a male crew."
Yeah.
He's seeing it happen.
And he was like moved by what we were doing, and we were at the end of our show, and they had been there throughout the story, had seen the characters being built and coming to that arch. And for me, at that moment, I was like, we made something good.
Yeah.
Because if he said that, yeah.
Right.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you guys so much.
Thank you,
so much.
ladies. You're amazing.